Let's talk about Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. They have arrived in the NFC and they will be around for years to come. In just year number 1 with Jayden Daniels and Dan Quinn, they made the NFL playoffs. Not only just that, they went all the way to the championship game, the conference championship game of all games. They did lose to the Philadelphia Eagles 55-23. They did get embarrassed. But look at what this franchise was like the year before. They were 4-13, 4-13. And I look at the Commanders right now. You don't want to squander this momentum. It is so many positive things to talk about with the Washington Commanders. And it starts with Jayden Daniels, of course. Jayden Daniels had an all-time rookie season, even in the NFL playoffs. Every single game in the playoffs, they were the underdog against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a veteran team. They won a playoff game the year before with Baker Mayfield. They're just a couple plays away from defeating the Detroit Lions last year. And you defeated them on the road. You kicked the game-winning field goal. It was so many games down the stretch that Jayden Daniels won, for example, in overtime against the Atlanta Falcons. Had a great game in that matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFL playoffs, against the Detroit Lions the week after they faced the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They dominated the Detroit Lions and they were the visiting team. That is not normal for a team that has a rookie quarterback and so many young pieces on the offensive end. And this was still a below average offensive line because just a year before, Sam Howell was the most pressured and most sacked quarterback in this league. But see, that's the thing with the Washington Commanders. It was such a quick turnaround. They were still dealing with a lot of bad parts from the year before. You still have a bad offensive line, and you can put more pieces on this offensive line because Jayden Daniels is on this rookie deal. You can put some more pieces alongside Jayden Daniels in the wide receiving room. Terry McLaurin is a true number 1 wide receiver. He's one of the best wide receivers to have in the NFL. De'Amon Brown, he showed that he can be a consistent number 2 wide receiver, but you can bring in some more pieces. For majority of the year, Noah Brown looked like a consistent target because of Jayden Daniels. He elevated the talent around him. And you have Zach Ertz. He is a veteran. I'm not going to take anything away from him, but it's not ideal to have him as your starting tight end in most situations. So you could put more talent around Jayden. He did get comfortable with these veterans. They did help elevate his game up to the next level. But at the same time, this kid did so many good things this year that he did not look like a rookie quarterback. He looked like a 10-year veteran on most weeks with the way that he was able to go out there and defeat the blitz and keep his legs moving inside and outside the pocket. He was the number 1 quarterback in the postseason against the blitz and dealing with pressure. That is not normal for young quarterbacks in this league. Some quarterbacks in year number 2 and year number 3, they struggle against the blitz. Look at Jalen Hurts last season. He struggled against the blitz with terrible coaching on the offensive end. And Jayden Daniels came straight into this league. And he had a very good game and a very good debut against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he was still learning the game and still learning the process. I will never forget the game that he had on Monday night against Joe Burrow and crew. He walked into Cincinnati and he outgunned Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and they won that matchup. Usually in the past, when Dan Snyder was the owner, the Washington Redskins / Washington Commanders, they would lose those type of matchups. But that was not the case with Jayden Daniels. He went out there and he showed that he is ready for the big time. And he outgunned an MVP candidate this season. And you look at all the special moments this year for Jayden Daniels in the second matchup in the regular season against the Philadelphia Eagles. Granted, Jalen Hurts did go down. He was 24 of 39, 258 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions. But he learned from his interceptions. He learned from his mistakes in that matchup. Jayden Daniels is a true franchise quarterback, and he's going to be okay long term. Just put the right pieces around this kid and take care of him. When I look at RG3, he had a great rookie season, but you can learn from RG3. The Washington Redskins at the time, they ran him into the ground. And he got injured and he couldn't stay healthy. And we know how his career ended with Mike Shanahan and with Kyle Shanahan calling plays. You don't want the same thing to happen to Jayden Daniels. His legs, those are his superpowers. But at the same time, he has the ability to dissect you from the pocket. Right now, he is a better passer in year number 1 than RG3 ever was with this organization. And that's no disrespect to RG3. So now you know what you have. Yes, you still want him to be able to run around and make those key plays, but his best plays are going to come from inside the pocket and outside the pocket with his arm because of the accuracy that he has with pushing the ball down the field and how great he is against the blitz. And you put more pieces on this offensive line. Sam Cosmi was out today against the Philadelphia Eagles dealing with a torn ACL, and I am worried about him because he's more than likely going to miss a good portion of next season. And he was easily their best offensive lineman, and we saw it in today's matchup. Jalen Carter is constantly in Jayden Daniels' face over and over again. He doesn't have that much time inside the pocket. It's only so much a young quarterback can do when his offensive line is letting him down and his wide receivers can't get open besides Terry McLaurin. They have the key to success here. I don't expect for Cliff Kingsbury to leave at the offensive coordinator position. He's come out many times and he said that he really loves to coach the offense and the offense only. It's hard to go out there and worry about the entire team. So if you're bringing back Cliff Kingsbury and that system that he had with Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr., that's going to be a major plus. You give him another year to develop with Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels is only going to get better. And I do understand that a lot of fans will come out and say, hey, he may have a sophomore slump. Look at what happened with CJ. But at the same time, we've seen it with quarterbacks in the past. If you have the ability to move around with the legs that Jayden Daniels has, it's still a chance you may have a sophomore slump. But it's another wrinkle to the game that you have to worry about. So it's less of a chance that he will go out there and have a sophomore slump, similar to quarterbacks that can only pass from inside the pocket. His legs, they're definitely going to help him out long term. Look at what happened against the Atlanta Falcons. He ran the football down their throat over and over and over again in the second half. And he was trying to use his legs in today's matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. He was their leading rusher, but he can only do so much. But you add in Austin Eckler, who can catch the football at the backfield, who can run in between the tackles, who's a do-it-all running back. And you have Brian Robinson Jr., who's going to run around, get you those 3 to 4 nasty yards in the middle of the field. You're going to be okay. You have the key to success in the backfield. You have Terry McLaurin. You can bring back Zach Ertz. De'Amon Brown, very good player at the wide receiving position. But bring in another threat that can help out Jayden Daniels and help him push the ball deep down the field on a consistent basis. Bring in another big body wide receiver. And we saw Jayden Daniels excel with those type of wide receivers when he was at Arizona State and most definitely at LSU and fix his offensive line. But the sky's the limit with the Commanders and this offense. I'm not worried about this offense at all. Now, the defense, on the other hand, their passing defense, they're going to be okay. They did make that trade to bring in Marshawn Lattimore, but Marshawn Lattimore missed majority. He hurt his hamstring, and he didn't play that many games with the Washington Commanders. So you give him a full offseason. Hopefully he can stay healthy, but that has been one of the problems with Marshawn Lattimore since 2019. He hasn't been able to stay on the field. When he's on the field, he's a very good player. Do not give him a major deal for 3 to 4 years. If you give him a 3-year deal, that's fine. But watch out for the money and try to submit a lot of it on the back end. You're going to bring back Marshawn Lattimore more than likely because that's why you went out there and traded for him. But he has to stay healthy. You have Mike Sainristil, who's a very good rookie, especially those last 9 games of the regular season and in the postseason. He's a very good cornerback to have. And you have Benjamin St-Juste also. What I find so intriguing, they had Emmanuel Forbes being a starting corner last year, and he was a bust, and they moved off of him immediately. Dan Quinn, he did not select him. That was a Ron Rivera selection. Ron Rivera really liked Emmanuel Forbes, and he could not use him to the fullest of his potential, so he moved off of Emmanuel Forbes. Right now, he is with the Los Angeles Rams. I'm not worried that much about the passing defense because even without Marshawn Lattimore, they had a top 5 passing defense. And this is something that Dan Quinn is known to do. Prioritize stopping that pass with those pass rushers that they have with Frankie Louvu, who is a very good player. Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen. Daron Payne did miss time this year, but you have him. You have Jonathan Allen. You have Johnny Newton at the defensive tackle position. They can move off of one of those starting defensive tackles and just slide Johnny Newton in right there. Johnny Newton gave you a lot of good snaps this year. I know that he had that bad moment against the Steelers where he jumped off sides and essentially that lost him the football game. But he's a rookie. Those mistakes are going to happen. He's going to get better as his career progresses. And he was a beast at Illinois at the defensive tackle position. He can play defensive end, but I don't see him playing much defensive end at this level, especially with guys like Dorrance Armstrong at the defensive end position, and the same with Cleveland Farrell. And you have Dante Fowler, who led this team in sacks this previous season with 10.5, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Jeremy Chin is a do-it-all player in that secondary. Can play linebacker, can play nickel corner for you, and he's obviously going to be the best safety with this team right now. He was a very good player his first 2 years with the Carolina Panthers, and you saw Dan Quinn use him to the fullest of his potential this season. Wherever the football is at, he's going to be there. He's a complete game wrecker in that secondary. And Frankie Louvu, I can't say enough good things. This man went from the Carolina Panthers, one of the worst teams in the NFL record-wise, over to the Washington Commanders, and he was in the NFC Championship game. That's a major upgrade for him and for the Washington Commanders as a whole. Now, with me saying all these good things, they have to find a way to stop the run. And it's more than just Saquon Barkley killing them in 3 games this season. 2 games in the regular season, and obviously what happened in tonight's matchup. Dan Quinn in the past has not went out there and he has not prioritized stopping the run that much. With the Seattle Seahawks, with the Legion of Boom, they were solid against the run, but that was an all-time historic defense. With the Dallas Cowboys, especially with him being the defensive play caller over the last 3 to 4 years, they were not that great against stopping the run in the postseason. The Washington Commanders, they were 26 in rushing defense in the regular season, and they had one of the worst rushing defenses in the postseason with all the teams that were left remaining. That's going to always get you put into a tough situation. And we saw what happened today against Saquon Barkley. The first play from scrimmage went for a 60-yard touchdown. He has to prioritize stopping the run and putting in some brand new rushing concepts. I like Dan Quinn a lot. I really do. As a pass game coordinator on the defensive side, stopping the pass, he's phenomenal. But it's going to be very hard for you to go out there and continue to stop the pass if the team can just run the football down your throat. They have to get physical up front. And it's so interesting and it's so gut-wrenching because they have good names up front at the defensive end position, at the defensive tackle position. But the running backs always get to the second level. Dan Quinn's defenses, especially against running backs, they're very good against those physical running backs. It's those running backs that can hit the next gear. Similar to guys like Derrick Henry, who is just a generational talent. The same with Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. They're going to always give you problems until you go out there and you make an emphasis to stop the run and to bring in more talent up front. Like I mentioned before, you're not paying a person a lot of money right now. Jayden Daniels is on that rookie deal for a very long time, and you can exercise that fifth-year option because he's a first-round pick. So you have 4 to 5 years to go out there and get the most out of this roster that you can. And I look at Adam Peters. He's already off to a great start as their general manager. This was such a quick turnaround for the Commanders. I am so proud of the players with this organization, and I'm so proud that they were able to go out there and give this fan base something to root for just within 1 year. I know that Josh Harris purchased a team. This is year number 2 with him being the owner. But last year, he was still dealing with a lot of moving parts from Dan Snyder. And there was a report that came out that Dan Snyder is upset, that he hates to see the Washington Commanders be in this situation. And my thing is this with Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder was such a terrible owner. For many decades, it came down to the cheerleaders, off the field incidents, that it hurt the on-field product. You've seen what Josh Harris has been able to do within just 2 years. He's brought in the right culture and the right energy, and he actually gives a damn about the fan base, something Dan Snyder never did, even when he first purchased the team. And despite all that, the Washington Redskins / Commanders, they still try to go out there and have playoff success. I'll never forget the game that Taylor Heineke had against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Despite terrible ownership, those players, they went out there and they tried to perform the best as possible. While Dan Snyder was up there trying to be the next Jerry Jones, I'm happy he's out of this league. And I'm happy to see the Washington Commanders fans have something to root for, especially with a special quarterback like Jayden Daniels. I always come on this channel and I speak about teams that haven't had the much success over the last few years. This is really where this channel started from, talking about teams like the then Washington Commanders a couple of years ago when they weren't that good and they had different starting quarterbacks. Rest his soul. They had Dwayne Haskins. That didn't work out. They brought in Alex Smith, and Alex Smith was a solid quarterback until he hurt his leg, and then you had to depend on Taylor Heineke. Then you brought in Carson Wentz. I remember that entire journey for this organization. So it's very great to see them go out there and to have playoff success in just year number one with their rookie quarterback, because it gives the fans something to look for, something this fan base hasn't had in 20 years. Even though they had RG3, look at how that ended. And look at how the ownership did not treat him fairly, and the same with the Shanahan family. It was so many memes being made about the Washington Commanders. You know, they had Sean McVay, they had Mike McDaniel, they had Kyle Shanahan. They had Coach LaFleur, all those key coaches, and they're all with different teams right now. And the Commanders, they were stuck with Ron Rivera. They were stuck with Eric Bieniemy calling offensive plays. They were stuck with Jack Del Rio. They hired Jay Gruden as their head coach for a couple of years. Ultimately, that didn't work out. But brighter days are ahead for the Washington Commanders and for Jayden Daniels. Don't hang your head down about this loss. It's a learning experience. Just like how this team learned against the Steelers when they lost that matchup. Just like how they learned in that first matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday Night Football when they lost that game. And it helped them out in the playoffs. It helped them make that deep playoff push with talent that you wouldn't expect to get them over the hump. We'll see. Will Jayden Daniels be in for a sophomore slump like a CJ Stroud? We'll see. I doubt that it will happen because of his legs and the moves that this general manager will be able to make. And the Washington Commanders are now an attractive free agency spot because of that franchise quarterback and because of the culture that Dan Quinn has built as a head coach. Prioritize stopping the run and the trench play and free agency in the NFL draft, and prioritize getting Jayden Daniels some help at the wide receiving position and at the offensive line spot. The sky's the limit. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders entering next season? And how do you feel about the regular season as a whole? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.